Have you ever noticed that something's changing in the way you socialize? Maybe you used to be the person who was always out, always meeting friends, attending every event, and staying constantly connected. But lately, you've been feeling different. Those casual hangouts don't feel as essential as they once did, and you're starting to be more selective about your social interactions. And guess what? That's completely okay. In this video, we're going to talk about 6 real reasons why younger adults are reimagining their social connections. These aren't about becoming antisocial or cutting people out. Instead, they're about understanding how relationships evolve, how priorities shift, and why choosing when and where to spend your time matters more than ever. If you've ever felt this way but couldn't quite explain why, stick around. These insights might just change the way you see yourself in your relationships, helping you feel more confident in the choices you make. Let's dive in. Number 1. Valuing energy for meaningful interactions. Here's a truth bomb. Your energy is not unlimited. Things that once felt effortless, driving across town, spending hours in conversation, attending every single gathering, now take more out of you than they used to. It's not that you don't want to connect with people, but you're becoming more selective about how you use your time and energy. You start asking yourself, who are the people that truly matter? When you're younger, socializing often revolved around staying connected, keeping up with acquaintances, and maintaining a broad circle of friends. But as time goes by, something shifts. You begin to value quality over quantity. Think about it. How many times have you forced yourself to go somewhere out of obligation, only to come home feeling completely exhausted? You sit through conversations that don't really interest you, spend time with people who don't make an effort to know you, and leave feeling like you would have been happier staying home. Take Alex, for example. She used to feel guilty about turning down invitations. She thought that if she didn't visit people regularly, they would think she didn't care. But over time, she noticed something important. The people who truly valued her didn't need frequent visits to maintain a strong connection. Instead of spending her energy on surface-level interactions, she started focusing on deeper, more meaningful relationships. Suddenly, socializing felt less like an obligation and more like a genuine joy. Remember, it's not about isolating yourself. It's about choosing wisely. You don't need to be everywhere. You don't need to see everyone to prove that you care. Real connections don't require constant presence. They require genuine appreciation, understanding, and mutual respect for each other's time. Number 2, avoiding unnecessary stress and drama. One of the biggest lessons you learn is that not every social interaction is worth your peace of mind. There was a time when you might have tolerated gossip, unnecessary conflicts, or people who seem to bring more negativity than joy. But as you grow, you start to recognize that protecting your mental peace is more important than maintaining every single relationship. It's not that you don't care about people. You just don't have the patience for drama anymore. You no longer feel the need to argue over small things, rehash old conflicts, or entertain conversations that leave you feeling frustrated. If visiting someone means dealing with unnecessary stress, whether it's family tension, passive-aggressive remarks, or recurring arguments that never resolve, you start asking yourself, why am I putting myself through this? Have you ever left a gathering feeling emotionally drained? Maybe you sat through a dinner where people complained the entire time, or you visited someone out of obligation and were met with constant negativity, gossip, or criticism. There comes a point where you realize that time spent in stressful environments is time you'll never get back. And at this stage of life, every moment matters. Consider Michael, who used to visit certain friend groups regularly. Every meetup was filled with tension, competitive comparisons, and subtle put-downs. One day, he decided he wasn't going to keep subjecting himself to those situations. Instead, he focused on the people who made him feel respected, understood, and valued. The truth is, you have every right to protect your time and energy. You don't owe anyone your presence, especially if that presence comes at the cost of your own happiness. Choosing to avoid unnecessary stress isn't being rude. It's being wise. The people who truly care about you won't make you feel obligated to endure negativity just to maintain a relationship. Number 3, finding comfort in your own space. There's something magical about having a space that's truly yours. Over time, you build an environment that reflects who you are, a place where you can relax, think, and be completely yourself. As you grow older, that comfort becomes increasingly valuable. The idea of getting dressed, driving across town, making small talk, and sitting in someone else's space just doesn't feel as appealing as it once did. It's not about avoiding people. It's about appreciating the peace of your own surroundings. When you're younger, there's an urge to always be on the go, always seeking out social events and new experiences. But over time, you realize that being out isn't always better than being home. There's a special kind of joy in waking up in your own bed, drinking coffee from your favorite mug, and knowing that your day will go exactly how you want it to. No pressure to entertain. No need to adjust to someone else's schedule. Just the comfort of being in a space that feels truly yours. For some, visiting people means dealing with environments that don't feel welcoming. Maybe the space is too loud, too chaotic, or just not comfortable for extended stays. The chairs might not be supportive, the atmosphere might feel unfamiliar, and you don't feel as at ease as you do in your own home. The reality is, your comfort matters more than social expectations. If you find more joy in staying home than in traveling to visit others, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Take Sarah, for instance. She used to feel guilty about turning down invitations. Every time she visited someone, she found herself counting the minutes until she could leave. The noise, the distractions, the unfamiliar environment. It was exhausting. One day, she decided to stop forcing herself to go places just because she felt she had to. Instead, she started inviting people to visit her on her own terms. Suddenly, socializing became something she looked forward to instead of something she dreaded. There's a reason why home feels like home. It's a space designed for you. It's where you feel safe, where your favorite things are, where you can move at your own pace without worrying about being a guest in someone else's space. Choosing to spend more time at home isn't about isolation. It's about embracing the comfort you've worked so hard to create. Number 4, prioritizing quality over quantity in social life. When you're younger, socializing often feels like a numbers game. The more friends you have, the more invitations you get, the busier your calendar looks, the more connected you feel. But as you age, you begin to realize that real fulfillment doesn't come from the number of people in your life, but from the depth of the relationships you maintain. Instead of making an effort to visit just for the sake of socializing, many are choosing to invest in fewer but more meaningful connections. At this stage in life, there's no need for shallow friendships. You no longer try to impress, prove anything, or maintain relationships that don't bring genuine joy. The people who are truly important don't require constant visits or frequent check-ins to stay close. There's a mutual understanding that friendship isn't about physical presence. It's about being there in the ways that actually matter. Think about how many casual acquaintances you've had over the years. People you spent time without a routine, convenience, or even obligation. Now ask yourself, how many of those people truly added something valuable to your life? If the answer is not many, then it makes sense why you're starting to stop feeling the need to maintain so many connections. The friendships that last aren't the ones based on convenience or habit. They're built on genuine understanding, trust, and appreciation. Consider James, who used to feel like he had to keep up with everyone. Calling, visiting, making plans just to make sure he wasn't forgotten. But over time, he realized that the people who truly cared about him didn't need that constant reinforcement. He started focusing on relationships that felt effortless, the ones where he could go weeks or months without seeing someone yet still pick up right where they left off. Suddenly, his social life became less about obligation and more about real connection. Choosing quality over quantity doesn't mean cutting people off or isolating yourself. It means prioritizing relationships that uplift you and letting go of the ones that don't. It's about recognizing that true friendship isn't measured by how often you see someone, but by how you feel when you're together. Number 5, a shift in personal priorities and reflection. As you grow, you start to see life differently. The things that once seemed important, staying socially active, being seen, making sure you're always part of the group, start to fade in significance. Instead, you begin to focus on what truly matters. You recognize that your time is limited, and you start making choices that reflect what brings you the most peace, fulfillment, and happiness. For many, this shift means that visiting others just for the sake of it no longer feels necessary. Instead of spending time on activities that no longer bring joy, there's a deeper appreciation for self-care, personal growth, and simply enjoying the present moment. Some find fulfillment in reading, others in hobbies they never had time for before, and some find peace in simply sitting quietly, reflecting on life. Think about how many moments you spent doing things out of habit rather than genuine interest. When you were younger, you might have felt pressure to say yes to every invitation, keep up with social expectations, and always be on the go. But now, you have the freedom to choose differently. You can prioritize things that bring you joy, whether that means spending time alone, being with loved ones, or embracing the peace that comes with personal growth. Take Emma, who spent most of her early adulthood being a social butterfly, always attending events, always making sure she was present. But as she got older, she realized she found more peace in solitude and meaningful personal projects. She started spending more time outdoors, enjoying walks, reading books she had put off for years, and reflecting on what truly made her happy. Instead of forcing herself to visit people just to maintain appearances, she embraced the idea that being alone didn't mean being lonely. It meant being in control of her time. This shift in priorities isn't about pushing people away. It's about honoring yourself. It's about recognizing that the best way to live isn't by following old habits, but by embracing what feels right, meaningful, and peaceful. Number 6, understanding that true connections transcend frequent visits. One of the most profound realizations that comes with growth is that the best relationships don't rely on constant visits or regular check-ins. When you're younger, it might seem like relationships need constant maintenance to stay strong. You call often, visit frequently, and go out of your way to keep up. But as you grow, you realize that real connections don't fade just because you see someone less often. Life naturally pulls people in different directions. Families grow, priorities shift, and people settle into different routines. But strong relationships, the ones that truly matter, are built on something deeper than physical presence. They're built on mutual respect, understanding, and an unspoken bond that doesn't need constant reinforcement. Some of the closest friendships are the ones where you can go weeks, months, or even years without seeing each other. Yet when you do reconnect, it feels like no time has passed at all. Think about your own friendships. There are probably people in your life whom you don't see as often as you used to, but when you do, it's as if nothing has changed. You don't need to prove your loyalty or constantly be in each other's presence. The connection is already there. On the other hand, there may have been relationships in the past where you spent a lot of time together, yet deep down, those friendships didn't truly fulfill you. Consider David, who used to feel guilty about not visiting people as much as he used to. He worried that if he didn't put in constant effort, those relationships would fade. But what he found was the opposite. The people who genuinely cared about him never made him feel guilty for not visiting more often. They understood that life changes, and that a strong friendship isn't about how often you see each other, but about how you show up for each other when it truly matters. This is why many are choosing to stop feeling pressure to visit others out of obligation. True friendships don't demand constant presence. They offer comfort, understanding, and a bond that doesn't weaken with time. If someone makes you feel guilty for not visiting enough, maybe it's time to ask yourself if that's really the kind of friendship you want to maintain. As we wrap up, take a moment to reflect on these 6 reasons why changing your social interactions isn't something to feel guilty about. Life changes. Priorities shift. The way we connect naturally evolves. Whether preserving your energy for meaningful interactions, avoiding unnecessary stress, embracing personal comfort, focusing on quality over quantity, redefining your priorities, or recognizing that true connections transcend frequent visits, These are all valid and important reasons to choose how you spend your time wisely. One of the greatest freedoms is the ability to live life on your own terms. You no longer feel pressure to keep up appearances, force interactions, or visit people just because it's expected. Instead, you make choices based on what truly brings you joy, peace, and fulfillment. That's not being antisocial. That's being intentional with your time. And when you do spend time with people, it's because you genuinely want to, not because you feel obligated to. The most important thing to remember is that your value isn't measured by how often you visit people, but by the relationships you nurture in your own way. The people who truly matter will understand that connection and love go beyond physical presence. As you focus on relationships that uplift you, you'll find that you're left with the connections that truly make life meaningful. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important, and reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating content to inform and inspire. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.